So this video is going to be a in particular Elliott Hulse's King mentorship program, and then in general kind of a critique of all of these mentorship and self-development plans, primarily found on like the RSD, the real social dynamics stratosphere, which is all of the, realize your own potential, become the best version of yourself, all of this real feel-good shit. Now, if you watch any of Elliott Hulse's King advertisements, I definitely did very quickly. You get a great taste of sourness, you get a great distaste in your mouth, and maybe you're unsure why, but generally speaking, the entire service is dishonest, and it's just disingenuous, and you can taste it. And by that I mean he is essentially proposing to have the answer to your woes. To put it simply, I'd say he's sort of, even if it's subconsciously, he's preying on your insecurities and making financial gain from it. So what is the program about? The program is about being the best version of yourself. Well, how does he know what the best version of yourself is? How does he know in what form that manifests? What about if there was a the fucking kids coming. Come on, bro. I'm trying to find a bit of solitude next to a beautiful lake. Anyway, if I was a very skinny guy and I wanted to slim down because I liked drag and I wanted to win a drag show and I needed to lose a few more pounds, and I'm like 10 stone, 5 foot 6 already, not much muscle on me, then is he gonna say just keep doing you and try doing this and this and this, or is he gonna try to make you conform to his ideals of what a king is? And what is this king? Elliott Hulse seems to be very traditional, conservative in his ideas, very manly in the traditional sense, and who's to say that's right? Who's to say that if you did get jacked and you did start fucking girls, it's the same with the red pill, right? If you just start the core of the red pill, or not the core, how it is what it's turned into. I'd say that's what the red pill, the sexual strategy thing of the red pill. How can they say that getting jacked and fucking different girls, essentially, let's say following Rollo Tomasi's blueprint, how they say that is the guide to happiness? If you've got enough self-knowledge, let's say, if you've got enough self-awareness and you've introspected quite a bit, then if you're following these other people's guidebooks, if you're following Elliott Hulse's King program and you're doing what he says and you're progressing, then you're progressing towards something that may not be compatible, may not be conducive with your personality. And if you've got enough self-awareness, then you may be aware of this, and you may be not satisfied. And if you haven't got that level of self-awareness, and if you are sort of desperate, like emotionally hurt, and you're suffering, maybe you're self-victimizing, but nevertheless, if you're in a period of pain in your life and you feel you need to become strong again, and you're looking to these sort of mentors to help you become stronger, then you're going to follow it, and you might feel some temporary satisfaction, like, I just bench pressed 100 kilograms in the gym for the first time and I feel amazing. And fair enough, but who's to say that's objectively what you want and that will make you happier? Personally, I do think that would do me favours. I do think that bench pressing 100 kg in the gym would help me mentally, and the road to doing that would be satisfying, but that's not to say that's the same for everybody. For example, Elliott Hulse recently talked about this book called Oracle, which is a guidebook for how women should be in the 21st century, written by a man. How does he know what a woman should be like in the 21st century? Potentially he's just gathered a load of data regarding, maybe, a persuasive book anyway, I imagine, would be gathering a load of data on happiness indices around the world of women in different countries, how technology's changed, how socioeconomic systems have changed, and reconciling all these to give an output which is how the woman should be. And even if he does that, how is he to say that this is absolutely correct and this is the way it should be? And same with Elliott Hulse. He seems to profess a lot of bro science and pseudoscience, and basically just says man up. And who's to say he hasn't got a lot of his own insecurities that these are simply projections of? And this King program, maybe that's his insecure striving for power and subjecting other people to his servitude. Maybe he has unprocessed anger. That's me. Basically, the crux of my argument is, and I haven't looked into it enough to really make a surgical critique, really strong critique of him personally, but I guess my point is, be more fucking skeptical. And he references that book, King, Magician, Warrior, Lover, whatever the combination of the words is, and that book talks about the 4 archetypes of men: a king, a warrior, a magician, a lover. And people who read that will go, oh yes, I'm the warrior type, I'm the magician type, and then they'll probably try to fit themselves into that archetype to further understand themselves, which is great as a tool of trying to come to a greater sense of self-understanding. But you've got to realise that this isn't prophecy. None of this is objective truth. It's pointing toward your own truth potentially, but a lot of people read this as if it is prophecy, and because they're coming from a place of quiet desperation, silent desperation, to quote, who was it? I don't know, Thoreau, Emerson. Then you're not going to be as critical if you're coming from that place. You're going to just probably accept it as fact. And I'm projecting here because I did that with the red pill a lot of the time. I read the sidebar and I took it as prophecy, and that was me, essentially brainwashed for a couple of years. And yeah, I'll think a bit more and continue, I guess. And Elliott, or a subscriber, follower thereof, may offer the rebuttal of, well, I'm helping, Elliott's helping people. He's forming a community of like-minded individuals, progress toward their goals. But who's to say he's not causing longer-term damage? Who's to say that he's not just fitting people into his idea of greatness, and these people are convincing themselves with very little effort, because the convincing has come externally through Elliott and other, mediums of information. They've been moulded into believing that these are the right ways to do things, and this is what growth looks like. But how can they be confident that this is true? Like when I went cold approaching loads of girls and stuff, I don't regret it, but potentially my time and my effort could have been directed elsewhere, and I maybe further grown if I had redirected that effort, and I wouldn't be as anxious. And in those times when I was cold approaching or whatever, I was very anxious, and I felt compelled to approach whenever I saw an attractive girl. And I don't think these programs, etc., really take into consideration the mental aspect and the deep psychological aspects, not only of how these programs affect people, but of how different people's psychological makeup is, how different people's psychological makeups are when they come to these programs. And yeah, it's just brainwashing, and it's taking advantage of insecure people at the end of it, I'd say. And yes, it's hard to break down, because then you could say, okay, well, what harm is there in just, working out and being around a strong group of people? And maybe there wouldn't be something wrong with that if that's really just what it was. But it's not just that, it's being around a load of people with a similar mode of thinking, and there's probably a lot of shit going on which is pushing this ideology, this mode of thinking, as being correct, and the actions that it kind of prophesizes, as to be right and entirely correct. And that's kind of the dangerous thing, when you get into a group of people who are pushing each other, yes, but all toward a very similar ideal, which by no means is likely to be the true objective for each person. That's an entirely personal endeavour, and getting people to subscribe to your version of that ideal, your ideal is dishonest and I don't know, it's regressive for those people. It's doing them a disservice at the end of the day, and they're financially less well off at the end of it as well. If anything, I think it just offers a chance to reflect and go, oh yes, I made that mistake, and this is why. Because I was slightly desperate, and I was subscribing to someone who believed that they could teach me what to do, rather than maybe help me ask questions so I could work out what I wanted myself.